our feature. What is your favorite poem right now? Answer, I don't know the title, but it's Rumi. I slept well. I slept well last night, but woke up drunk. I must have dreamt about you.
Whoa.
Why are you a poet? Because things happened to me that only got better when I wrote about them. What advice would you give someone attempting to write their first poem? Get it on the freaking page. Worry later if it's good or not. What is your favorite word? Discombobulate. Least favorite? Rural. Because I can't say it. My Hersh is amazing. You guys are all about to have your minds and your hearts blown, so please clap all the way to the stage for our feature, Maya.
We're cool! So you guys listen to me talk all the time. So I'm not really gonna talk. I'm just gonna do hella poems. But all my poems are like sad. So, so you might get some jokes in between. Like this one that I just learned. Why is the ocean blue?
Why?
Because all the fish go bloop, 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 bloop.
Goes in your hair. Little meme jokes today.
Yesenia plays shortstop. I ask her if it's because she's short. She looks me up and down, sneers, says, "At least I'm not fat like you." Brianna punches me in the stomach every day of 3rd grade. She thinks it's hilarious. She tells me that it's good for me, says it will force muscle to grow where there is only soft and weak. I believe her because she is the only one who will talk to me in the lunch line, where my tray has the same amount as hers, but it looks like more. I believe her because her legs are long and tan and always showing. I steal baggy shirts from my dad to hide the bruises, pretend I'm not sick to my swollen stomach when the sun comes out and everyone else uncovers I am a great swimmer, because no one can see your bulges when you're under the water. I can infinity loop the lake while my family eats potato salad. Fat girls don't get potato salad, they float enough already. Ruby says my name sounds like fish, and it doesn't, but Dylan, who has the squarest shoulders in school, still laughs, because my stomach is showing again over my waistband, pale and messy like fish guts, because it's hilarious to tease the fat girl, to entice her solid swing. He tells me, get my weight behind it. So even when I hurt him and he cries, I still lose. And it's hilarious. In a locked car kissing game with Billy, the boy I write about and burn the pages, he says, I'm glad I drew your name. Now you can tell me how to get your hot friend to go out with me. I kick Yesenia in the shin when she takes my food at lunch because fat girls don't need any more food. She cries and tells her mom, who tells my mom, and I am grounded again. Small loss when all my friends are wearing shorts with gaps around the thighs. Small loss when Brianna says I have to be the boy again, and whatever we are currently making believe, it makes sense. Who could call this lump a girl? I shove Ruby in the hall when she pours water on my gym clothes. Shove her again until she cries, until she stops calling my house at night to tell me about parties I'm not invited to. It's so much easier to hit first than hit back. I put my weight behind it. Small win to sit at home alone. Just gonna keep going. I recently got divorced. It sucks. Don't do it. Nothing good about it. I promised I would only do one poem about that, so here it is. A list of things I will miss about you. The way you cry with your whole face, and also laugh, and your lips are soft like brushed velvet over concrete, and the way your jaw juts when you're angry, which you always are. The heater you become when you're sleeping, and the way you kick and kick the blankets gone, and 2 a.m. gas station runs, and the long, long drives, and the way our writing echoed off each other and grew. A list of things I will not miss about you. The water you drip on the bathroom floor every time, and the uncapped toothpaste. Your cold shoulder. The way you will sit and stare and stare and stare and never strike. The waiting for you to fall asleep so I could relax. The guilt. The way you laugh hard and loud when it's mean. The way I can tell the difference. Can tell when you are nothing but mask. Nothing but caged violence and clown smile. The way we would sit on opposite corners of the couch, 3 screens between us, and go weeks without talking. A list of things I have learned I liked about myself since you left me. The way I can run for hours, can hold that afterglow for days if I have to. The way I can tell what you need before you ask. The way I can say yes or no to any question without guilt. The way I can sit in the quiet forever, just me and my brain and no sound. The way the outside world filters in, muted and unimportant, and I choose to listen to it. The way I didn't yell back, and I didn't blame, only waited and refused to answer until you calmed. The way I listened when it was time to listen and let you speak when you were finally ready to speak. And the way I left when it was time to leave. This is not new shit, but it's important shit. So it's too long to slam, so we do it in features. And I do want to say about this and a couple poems, I'm going to talk about some serious shit. I'm going to talk about suicide. I'm going to talk about rape. I'm going to talk about eating disorders. That is your trigger warning. It's going to happen. Please feel free to talk to me, but please don't just come up after and be like, let's talk about the time you were raped. Right? Like, maybe just be like, hey, here's my email address. Right? So, but that's not what this one's about. That's for later. Hannah gains weight the entire time I know her, which is 2 years. She ends up smaller than me. Talks about how she's finally learning to accept herself. Even though she's fat now, she thinks it was good for her to go through this. Julie and I used to be the same size until she started running every time she passed a mirror. Now she complains about stores not having small enough clothing for her and about her thighs still several inches wide. She wonders if she'll ever be thin enough to disappear them. Katie's prominent collarbones have made public her need to be empty. By August, she's lost 10 more pounds and we flock to trick food down her resistant save me pout. I have no pity, sitting in the corner, thought rude because I'm not eating again this week and I can't keep up with your carbohydrated conversations. Katie comments on the dress I wear in my Facebook picture. She says, cute, like you can't see the rolls of fat where the spandex ends, like I can't see her profile picture, size 0, and everything she wears flaunts it, even a baggy sweater, even just her face. It's all I can see through the haze of not eating, because the 10 pounds that I lost last week still aren't enough to make me too skinny. I want to be too skinny, skin and bones disgusting. I want to lose 10 pounds and have no one tell me I look better. We have no pity for the in-between. For those who can't make public their battle with the simple bearing of flesh. For those who binge between each purging, spend their whole lives terrified of gravity and still end up average and invisible. I don't have the tragic, slender silhouette to make you want to save me, and I can't pity you yours. To me, it still looks too much like winning. I've never been in danger of my heart stopping. My record for 0 calories ingested is a measly 48 hours, and I've never been below a size 6 or 120 pounds, but I never stopped trying. Doling out calories, I never learned to count past double digits. Pushing, sweat through my pores like the fat will drip off with it. But I also eat cookies at midnight. Whole box in the dark when no one is watching. And I also was born with these hips that refuse to slope inward, no matter how much I bruise them with anything I can nestle in the curve of my fist instead of the roof of my mouth. And I also spent hours watching slender silhouettes dying between window panes in front of the restaurant I work in. Watch them running like pendulums, pedometers ticking. Watch them turn their heads in disgust when they smell garlic or cheese, melting greasy over dough, rising yeast cloud and burnt sugar. Do these words make you salivate? Are you hungry yet? Hannah drinks a bottle of wine for dinner and tells me, no matter how depressed she's ever been, she's always held on to the one thought directed at anyone who comes between herself and perfection. At least I'm thinner than you. At least I have that. Now that her jean size has doubled in digits, she doesn't know where her edges are. She wonders if she has anything else to offer someone. I have no pity when their imaginations cold shoulder their way into a mirror that has so much more empty space than my own. When they hold out shaking fingers and say, here, keep this as far from my perfectly flat stomach as possible. I'm captivated by the space between collarbone and breast beating SOS instead of heartbeat. I never listen. I'm too busy drinking nothing but water every time my stomach rumbles empty, losing myself in the absence of curve in their outline, the way it wins your attention every time. We have no pity for those who fail to learn the system, who taunt their stomachs with dreams of concave, hollow, but never make it past hungry. I am always hungry. I am always aching for slender, for tiny, for jutting. No one calls it an eating disorder unless it is killing you. I wish it was killing me. At least I would die tragic, heroic. At least I would die thin. You guys doing okay?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to keep going like that. But in the meantime, since I see that Ruby is here, I'm going to tell you the joke she told me. It's just the best joke on earth. All right. How did Hitler tie his shoes?
How?
With little Nazis. Oh, it's my favorite. I've been laughing for days. All right. So, many of you know this and many of you do not, but a couple years ago, I had some issues with someone who was in the slam scene who was not asking consent for things, and it turned into this big thing, and there was a lot of other people that he did not ask for consent, and then it started popping up all over the country that was happening, and so here are 3 short poems I wrote about that. In my version of our story, I had big scared eyes and you had yellow teeth. You coyoted them in my direction like a lever. Used the extra force to slip into the cracks my mother left behind by being human. In your version, you were just human. Just aching for power after she left you. You shone your lonely like a flashlight, bounced it off my eyeball void, never noticed we were both shining on an empty ocean float. I am curled up on the couch in the afternoon, unshowered. I do not answer the phone when it rings. I do not change the channel when the show ends. I eat until my stomach hurts, and I do not apologize for anything. In my version of our story, we are both assholes. I am ungrateful, and you are selfish, and we are both so attached to our crumbling pedestal, so depressed about our continued depression. I'm reverting to the music of my childhood to escape the sound of thinking about you. I'm losing myself in the sweet harmonies of simple women with nice guitars and uncomplicated heartbreaks. I am hating their stupid, beautiful voices and the easy way they flash their eyes on album covers. What do they know? I was pretty once too. There will be a man, and he will say, I am a good man. He will say, I am a good man. And he will be so full of responsibility and rules, you will believe him. Don't believe him. There will be woman after woman after woman who does not know what happened last night, only that he kept buying her drinks and rubbing her back and telling her all the beautiful things she deserves. She will not feel beautiful. I am so sick from eating my own tongue, from removing myself from his spaces, from hearing people that I love tell me he is a good man. There will be a man who does everything right on paper, who is so much more giant than you could ever be, and he will rub that giant against your no until it gives up. He will be lurking behind every door to remind you how in control you are not, how next year will be the same as this year, how much it is your fault if you are hurting. He is not hurting. There will be a man who eats nothing but empty pedestals. He will say, I am a good man and you are not a good girl, and he will be right on paper. He will erase the mistake from inside of your mouth, relabel himself a martyr, and bow out unyellowed. You will still be here, tainted, talked about. The sun is shining brightly today. Birds are hallelujah and free fall. I am nothing but glass and flickered glass and still and hide. Nothing is rotten today, except me. I am decaying tooth of a half-atom drive. I am get up and get back down. I am imprint on linoleum from pacing and going nowhere. I am nowhere. There's too much chlorine in my tap water, so I do not drink. There's too much sunshine on the patio, so I do not go outside. There's too much noise inside my head, so I drown it with smoke and glass and more smoke. There's absolutely nothing wrong today, except for me. I am wrong to ask for anything from anyone when I have nothing left to salvage, when I am burnt husk in the happy sun, when I am flickered glass and no reflection. this one today too. What's the dumbest animal in the jungle? The polar bear. Alright, since that one fell flat, I'm going to tell you my real favorite joke. Alright, so 3 elephants are up on top of a cliff, and they're going to try to jump off the cliff, right? So the first elephant jumps, and he jumps as far as he can, and he hits the rock. So the second elephant jumps, and he jumps way farther, like as far as he possibly can, and he hits the rock too. So the third elephant gets like a running start, and he jumps way far and hits the water. Ba-doom, psh. So on that note, I'm going to do an impressive song about my childhood. Alright, stop laughing. This poem's depressing. There is a little girl crying on the kitchen floor. Her mother is holding her other children back. She is saying things like, "Be careful, stay away from her." There is spit in the little girl's eyes. It is her own from all the flailing, from all the "don't touch me, don't touch me, don't touch me." The floor is cold and soaks up all her feelings. She is sobbing like a leaking geyser. She is cold like Home Alone when the sun goes down. She can't remember why she got so angry. I grew up with a demon inside me. When the pressure built and boiled and I yelled until my throat was raw and splintered, I could smell it sweating dirty. Could feel its teeth lodging in my spine as encouragement when I picked fights, when people refused to fight me because I wouldn't stop swinging even after it was over. Bipolar is the too much. It is a non-incremental on and off switch. When it is on, I want to kiss everyone, drink all the whiskey, and don't sleep for days. I want to run until my feet explode. When it is off, I am coward blanket. My skin is full to bursting and every sound is razor. I am molasses fingers and too many teeth when I try to smile. My mom says there is a demon inside me. She says it is rotting away my insides every time I can't stop crying when she tells me to. Every time I yell instead of talking because I can't hear myself over the din in my storm brain, she says evil. Says it over and over. Says she gives up trying to make me a decent human being. There is a little girl crying on the kitchen floor. She has thrown dishes again. She has screamed until the cats hid and the siblings fled again, and only her mother is left, fear eyes and heart clutched, giving up on her child. Okay, how do you feel about 3 more poems?
Only 3 more.
This one's worse than the last one, and then the next one is worse than that, but then the last one is funny. The last one is funny. The rape victim on my television breaks down crying, and everyone rushes to comfort her. She sobs against their chests while they make sad faces above her. Eventually, her sobs turn to sniffles, and they catch the bastard who did it. My rapist is driving behind me in traffic. He is with a girl I know, and they are laughing. And the sun is shining, and it's early spring when everything is beautiful and fresh. His name sits on my tongue like morning slime that I can't spit out. Some days it is too loud to talk over, so I make mean faces instead, and everyone leaves. Some days I come so close to saying it that it seems like people should hear the echo, should notice how quiet I get when he sits at our table at lunch, when he smiles at me in the hallway. The rape victim on my television is crying again. The guy who did it is skeezy in the interrogation room, staccato lies through crooked teeth and breathing mad. Her mother is holding her, smoothing her hair and telling her it's going to be okay. My mother doesn't know I was raped. Still asks me what happened to that boy I knew. If I told her then, she would have been cyclone of why and how and what were you doing in his car. If I tell her now, she will know I've been lying for 15 years. My rapist is a long-haired hippie with gentle eyes and a soft voice. He's delicate like a tripwire. He adds me as a friend on Facebook, and I accept because everyone else does. They can all see his posts about yoga retreats and finding enlightenment. Who am I to ruin it with bloody knees and ripped hair, with a part of my throat I can never call mine again? I was 14, and he was my upperclassman mentor, my rainy afternoon philosophy rambler. He said, call me when you want to hurt yourself, before you do. And I wanted to hurt myself, So I called him. So I met him in the empty parking lot in a short skirt and a men's shirt. What did I expect? He told me I was pretty, that he couldn't stop thinking about me, and it was my fault. The parking lot was dark, but he must have seen my blush. He said he knew he shouldn't be thinking about a student this way, but he didn't move his hand. My friends good morning me with judgment. They do not want to hear what happened. They say, what did you expect? The guidance counselor says, he's very popular and you are not. Are you sure this isn't wishful thinking? She says, you probably shouldn't tell anyone unless you're sure you want the trouble. A lot of people won't believe you. My mother says nothing, because I tell her nothing. But she is so tired from standing up for me. I am such an insolent child. All this want and want and want. The rape victim on my television is crying again. Her mascara runs elegantly down the bruises he gifted her as proof. I am home alone and crying again. I can't seem to forget the way the sunshine lit his smile in the car behind me. Is there anything more terrible than watching your rapist smile? The rape victim on my television is a liar. She says that it gets better. Okay, so fair warning. That was the hardest poem I ever wrote until this one, which I wrote today.
Yeah.
Start to finish. We'll see how this goes. I apologize in advance. Radiohead is looping in the background. Breathe, he says. Keep breathing. But I don't. My chest is a child's bounce house. It is Mickey Mouse on Jell-O. It would be cartoonish how hard my heart is beating if it didn't hurt so much. There is vomit everywhere. My arms have floated away to rest on the ceiling, and I can't remember how many pills I took, but I know it's too many. There's a simplicity to death when you are past the point of no return, and all that is left is to breathe out. The futon is solid beneath me, but I can't feel it. My hands clutch and clutch and clutch, but don't move. I'm reaching for the phone. It taunts me, not ringing, not moving any closer. It is a sunny spring afternoon, and the birds are singing cheerful through the window, and I am dying on a futon, and no one is looking for me. 10 years later, when my life implodes, I can remember how easy it was. How the pills slid 1 by 10 by 20 down a throat swollen from too much smoking. How my heart stopped undramatically, just boom, boom. Much harder to remember that at the last minute, when it's far too late to have a last minute, I changed my mind. That suddenly, everything felt too short and too over. Much harder to remember trying to reach for the phone. My brain was 911, and my heart was 911, and my hands were cold, dead fish, unmoving, and then the sun went out, all fizzle pop and fade to chesty blackness. The ICU is cold and beep and skin twitch. My father is unmoving mirage when I wet the bed again, when I rip the IV out of my arm and bleed the sheets. My brother is all eyes. He will stay that way for years. 10 years later, I tell myself, the important part is the surviving, the luck and save and mind change. I listen to Radiohead in the car and pull over when my chest hurts. He says, keep breathing, and I do, but it's hard. Every day is hard, all this living. There is not a moment that I do not think about suicide, that I do not remember the letting go as if it's something to nostalgia. There is not a moment that I do not wish I had never tried and failed so I could still think of death as a valid escape plan. My living room is messy and lonely. There is a bottle of pills that I keep in the back of the drawer with a label that says, you tried this already, remember? Instead, I run until my heartbeat feels like breaking point. Instead, I drink until I can't find the brain blanks anymore. I have nightmares about giant hands that do not move. Every morning, I wake up sweating and exhausted, stuck with my own decision to live. Okay? Yeah. All right, you made it. One more poem and it's funny. Woo! Yeah! Why can't you hear the pterodactyl in the bathroom?
Because the P is silent. Yeah.
All right, before I do my last poem, so I started the slam almost 2 years ago, and like it's grown into this. Like I was like, let's do some poems. And you guys are really, like, it's been a rough couple months, and I have made it through because I come here. So, yeah, you guys are great. I believe this is the third poem that is funny that I've ever written, and the first one that does not involve animals taking over. He doesn't believe in the Loch Ness Monster. This revelation occurs 6 orgasms into my visit and totally kills the mood. I say, but at least you can acknowledge that we don't know, like for sure. And he says, there is zero proof, and I believe what can be proven to me using my own rules. And I say, what if there is an alternate reality where dinosaurs never became extinct, and right where the lake is a family of ichthyosaurus, and what if underneath the water there is a thin part of reality, and sometimes the dinosaurs come true? And he says, I have never seen an alternate reality. And anyway, dinosaurs are extinct, and everyone knows that. And anyway, even if that were true, we would be able to find it. And I say, well, what if our equipment just can't register it because our technology is not that advanced? And he says, you smoke too much pot. This is not a conversation that can go anywhere but back around. So instead, I kiss him and we don't talk about it again. Somewhere, deep in a lake, huddled among plants only slightly different than the ones she's used to eating in her alternate dimension, Nessie belches quietly and moves on. This is not a thing I know for certain, but I am certain that I am unwilling to live in a world that doesn't have room for the possibility of the unknown. I believe that someday there will be a zombie apocalypse. They will take to the streets and I will take to the woods like my hippie parents taught me, and eventually I will come to a part that no one's seen before, and there I will find magic. I believe that someday I will rub the right lamp in the right goodwill and there will be a genie. I believe that bumblebees are spaceships for tiny aliens, and the reason they can only sting you once is that the stinger is the escape pod. But mostly, I believe that without my imagination, I am an empty shell of a plodding work week, pointless tick-tock without an end goal. I believe that all the beauty of this world lies in the unknowable, in the endless things to find and learn and relearn and relearn. He is kissing me goodbye, and I say, you know, I will always believe in the Loch Ness Monster, and goblins and aliens and magic wishes, and he says, I know, and I never will, but I believe in you, and I believe you should be happy however you get there. I take this as a win. Settle into my seat on the big metal box flying magically through the sky, and wait for the universe to prove itself surreal to him. Yeah!